Welcome back everyone. This week is our fourth week and we're going to be looking at self-compassion, compassion and self-care. And please just remember as we discuss these things that it's very much linked to everything that we've spoken about to date. And I suppose really what we're going to start with this video is just talking about what is compassion. Compassion can be seen as a very kind of soft, fluffy, airy-fairy kind of thing where we're all very nice to each other, and I think there can be a lot of misunderstanding about it, and it was very interesting when we did a reflective piece with the psychologist in this trust around compassionate focus therapy, was to think about compassion as being recognizing within yourself and with others the suffering or their pain. But then there's a second element to it which I hadn't really thought about, and that's the desire to reduce that suffering or pain. So there's an action involved in compassion, and we're just going to talk a bit about some of the examples around that we've experienced to try and get a better grasp on what this is, because we'll talk in further videos a bit more about why it's so important, this practice of self-compassion and compassion for others. So just to share with you, a few months ago I was back in South Africa. My father was dying and we brought him home on the Wednesday, and by the Thursday my brother was having to have a conversation with him about his banking account. We needed to transfer money, and my dad was really unwell and he wasn't able to string too many sentences together at the time. And I remember sitting watching my brother having this conversation with my dad, where we knew that my dad was in no position to actually be in control and be in charge, and yet my brother brought that dignity and respect to him. He made my dad feel like in the conversation, is it okay, Dad, that we do this? And it was the way that he spoke to him, which was full of compassion. I thought about our work and that he just instinctively knew to do that. My brother was feeling stressed. We were worried about the money. My dad couldn't remember his password, and yet he was patient, he was calm, and he let my dad feel in control, even though Dad and Warren knew that he wasn't. A completely same situation but completely different act of compassion was on the day that he actually passed away, and we called the hospice nurse, because when we arrived there my dad had a lot of foam in his mouth. He was unconscious at that stage. We didn't know if the morphine was getting in and if he was in pain or not. We were scared really, and the hospice nurse arrived, and there was no hugging and cuddling and all that kind of stuff, I'm really sorry. She just got in there, she saw what was going on, she told us what to do, she instructed us. She had the knowledge, she had the skills, she had the expertise, and simply coming in and directing us and helping us know what we were doing was an act of real compassion for us as a family. Yeah. You know, it wasn't what she was saying, it was in her actions and her knowledge that really made the difference. And I'm going to hand over to you, Anne, because I think perhaps there's some more examples like that.
Well, just on what you're saying, Lisa, very, very useful point that you make about the hospice nurse coming in and being very clear about her role and being very respectful and doing what she needed to do, which was for the patient, your father. That actually brings to mind for me actually that compassion isn't this pink and fluffy thing that you can't really feel, and it's something that we just talk about. For me, compassion is actually about real practical things that have to be done, but being kind with those practicalities, being kind, being aware. And I think also, whilst we talk about it not being pink and fluffy and about it being something that is very real and how we are with people essentially, that requires actually quite a great deal of self-awareness, personal knowledge, knowing what makes you tick. We talk about that in our work a lot, I think, in terms of recovery and wellness and journeying towards better mental and emotional wellness. So the more you are aware of yourself and what makes you tick, the more self-aware you are in relation to other people, the better you're likely to be at having compassion. And that is often for me around boundaries, knowing the roles and responsibilities that other people have, knowing your own roles and responsibilities in your life. For me also, compassion is about respect, not just having boundaries around what you do and what you don't do, but who you are as a person, respectful relationships, knowing what to say and what not to say at important times. And in times like this, when we're going through a lot of transition into new ways of being, because this is going on we've got a lockdown for another 3 weeks now, and we're looking at what life is looking like for us, we have to be thinking about how we're communicating with people. Are we communicating kindly? Are we respectful within our relationships? If we're feeling edgy, can we do something different to help ourselves? Be compassionate with other people, and then also be compassionate with ourselves. It's important to feel understood.
Yeah.
And it's important to understand other people as well.
Especially with redeployments and things going
Yeah.
on, everything is being changed.
Yeah.
And that sometimes that knowledge and being respectful that we all respond differently to these crises, and being able to step back and give people that space to truly actually understand why they're perhaps reacting and behaving like they are, requires that self-awareness, that patience, that, you know, that kindness. So it's...
Yeah. So folks, that was just an introduction really into what compassion is, and we're going to come back on to you again tomorrow to talk about some of the other issues and areas around compassion, like barriers and what the impact is if we don't practice self-compassion and compassion for other people, and at the centre of that self-care. So we'll see you again tomorrow, and thanks for listening.